There's a lot of stereotypes about baseball positions, but only some of them are true. I played baseball for more than 15 years, all the way from Little League to 5 years of professional baseball, and here is what I found out about every single position. If you're a baseball player, don't get offended, these are just stereotypes. The first position that I'm going to talk about is arguably the most important position on the entire field and one of my favorite, the catcher. Catchers have the stereotype of being the toughest player on the field, and that is 100% true. They pretty much get beat up for a living. As a pitcher, catchers were always one of my very favorite teammates, and I absolutely love them. Sometimes they don't smell very good, mostly because they're sweating all the time and they're covered in dirt. They're also typically not the best hitter in the lineup, mostly because they are spending all of their time catching bullpens and doing work, not hitting in the cages. I also feel really bad for catchers' knees. They have to hurt all the time because all they do is squat for the entire game and block baseballs in the dirt. If you're a catcher, it means that you are an absolute beast and you're pretty gritty. You're going to be covered in dirt after every single game, but you're an amazing teammate. You're also really slow. Now we are going to jump to one of the most stereotyped positions in all of baseball, first base. There's really only 3 types of first baseman. If you're a first baseman, it's probably because you are left-handed, or you're the tallest kid on the team, or you're extremely slow. Sometimes it's all 3. First basemen are a little bit weird. They have their own glove. They're usually a lefty, but they absolutely rake. If you're a first baseman, your most important job on defense is to be able to catch the baseball and pick the baseball from your infielders. But really, you're on the team because you drop bombs. That's why you're in the lineup. First basemen usually bat 3rd, 4th, or 5th in the lineup. They have a ton of power, but again, probably not the fastest player on the team. I also feel like first basemen usually have anger issues, and if they strike out, you should probably watch out in the dugout. If you're a first baseman and you are not either really tall, a lefty, or slow, I don't know what you're doing there. The next position arguably gets the most hate in all of baseball. It is second base. Second base is super underrated. Yes, you are probably the smallest player on the team. You probably don't have the very best arm on the team, but you are the most underrated player on the entire infield. Second basemen usually bat either leadoff or second in the lineup. They are always on base, they are stealing bases, and they are scoring runs all the time. Second basemen also usually always wear their pants up and have really good snacks. I don't know why that is true, but it is. And yes, one time I did say that second base's comp is a chihuahua, and I said that out of love. I played second base for a very long time before I got too tall, and I absolutely loved second base. So if you are a second baseman, you are absolutely underrated on your infield. Keep doing it, keep balling out. P.S. When you get taller, you probably won't play second base anymore. Next up is third base, which is arguably one of the scariest positions in all of baseball. But first, if you're a third baseman, it means that you have the best arm on the entire infield. I swear, third basemen always have absolute cannons. The reason I said it's the scariest position in the entire infield is because you have to play all the way up. And if a player turns on a baseball and rips one to you, you have absolutely no reaction time. If you're playing third base, it probably means that you could play shortstop, but you're a little bit too slow. As a hitter, you probably hit for power and also strike out a lot. Sorry. In my opinion, third base makes some of the very coolest plays on the entire infield. You have players like Machado and Arenado who are making barehanded plays as well as line drives down the line. If you're a third baseman, you're one of the coolest players on your team. The next position has the most stereotypes in all of baseball, from crybaby to the coolest player on the field to coach's kid. Yes, it's shortstop. First off, let me say shortstop is by far the coolest position on the entire infield. The shortstop always has the very best drip on the team, makes the coolest plays in the field, but they usually have an attitude. Shortstop is usually the coach's kid, especially in Little League and travel ball, which isn't always a bad thing, but it is one of the stereotypes that is 100% true. If you're a shortstop, you're probably the best player on your team. You're one of the most athletic kids on the team, you're probably one of the fastest, and you hit in the top of the lineup. Shortstops sometimes are known as crybabies, and even in college and pro ball, they're sometimes prima donnas, which, if you don't know what that means, also means crybaby. If you're a shortstop who's not a crybaby, drop a comment. Now we're gonna move from the infield to the outfield. We're gonna start with left field because if you are a left fielder, you are in the lineup not because you're a good defensive player. If you're a left fielder, it's because you drop bombs, not because you are a good outfielder. Left fielders are typically a little bit slower and not the best outfielder on the team, but they usually bat 3rd, 4th, or 5th in the lineup. They hit for power, they hit for average, and if you wanna win some games, you need them in your lineup. A lot of the times, the left fielder is somebody that you're kind of hiding in the outfield, hoping hoping that not too many balls are going to get hit to them. All the way from Little League to Pro Ball, left field, not the best outfielder on the team. But as a former pitcher, I want the left fielder in the lineup because he is going to have 2 to 3 hits every single night. If you're a left fielder, take a few extra pop-ups, you're gonna need it. The next position is always the fastest player on the team and the best athlete by far. We're in center field. Center fielders are always the fastest player on the team. I mean always. They will have the most stolen bases on the team, and the reason they're in center field is because they catch everything. It's the center fielder's job to catch everything in center, also in left, and also in right. They usually don't have the best arm in the outfield, but they are by far the fastest and the best outfielder on the team. I swear every leadoff hitter I played with was a center fielder. They're gonna hit for average, and they're gonna steal bases. They're also always really good at bunting for a hit. I don't know why that is, but it's absolutely true. As a pitcher, center fielders were my best friend because they would go track down every ball that should have been a double. Next up, we have right field, and right field always gets a ton of trash talked about it, but I don't think that that's actually true. Yes, right field in Little League and when you're younger kind of sucks because nobody hits the ball to the outfield and it's really boring, so sometimes you kind of just want to sit down. But right fielders at higher levels like the minor leagues and pro baseball always have the very best arm on the entire team. Right fielders have cannons. They're also usually one of the very best hitters on the team. So I know everybody makes fun of right fielders, but I think that right fielders are the second best outfielder on the team, behind center field, of course. One thing I will say about right field, because I've seen this happen, is if you are a right fielder, make sure that you bring sunglasses with you so that you don't lose a ball in the sun and get hit in the face. Now it's time for my favorite position of all time, and yes, I am biased, it is pitchers. But there are 3 different types of pitchers. There are starting pitchers, there are bullpen pitchers, and there are left-handed pitchers. All 3 are very different. Pitchers, you are the most important player on the field because no action happens without you. Unless you throw the baseball, nothing happens. So always remember, you are the most important player on the field. There's usually 2 ways that you become a pitcher. Either you're just the best player on your team and have an absolute cannon for an arm, or you're probably not the best hitter on your team and they're like, hey, maybe you should try pitching. Guess which one happened to me? I didn't start pitching until I was in college, but I hit so badly that they're like, hey, maybe you should try pitching, which worked out for me pretty well. So fun fact, the reason I became a pitcher was because I was really bad at hitting. So it's bringing back some good memories. If you're a pitcher, you're pretty weird. Let's just be honest, pitchers are a little bit weird. But it's because we have too much time on our hands. We're not a part of BP, we just stand in the outfield and shag. We don't have enough to do, and all we do every single day is throw a baseball and run a lot. Starting pitchers are superstars, and that's why they're different than bullpen pitchers. Bullpen pitchers are absolute psychopaths. All they try to do is throw as hard as they can and strike every single hitter out that they face. They always pitch later in the game, which means that they get as ramped up as possible. If you're a bullpen pitcher, you definitely have taken way too much caffeine, and you probably yell when you throw. And for my personal favorite, if you are a left-handed pitcher, I absolutely love you, but you're probably the weirdest player on your team. Everybody in baseball knows that lefty pitchers are just a little bit weirder than everybody else. For some reason, none of them can wear their hat straight. It's always like slightly crooked, but lefties are also some of my favorite teammates that I've ever had. So yes, pitchers are all a little bit different. You have starters who are superstars, bullpen pitchers who are absolute psychopaths, and lefties who are the weirdest players on the team. And I love all of them. If you're a DH, everybody knows why. It is because you are one of the best hitters in the entire team, but usually you are one of the slowest players on the entire team, and you are a defensive liability. So yes, that stereotype about DHs just being really good hitters is 100% true. The last position I want to talk about, and one of the most important positions, is the bench. Here's why being a bench player is important. Being on the bench kind of sucks. As a baseball player, I spent a lot of time, especially as a younger player, on the bench, and I absolutely hated it because I wanted to be on the field so badly. But one of the most important things that you can do as a bench player is to be a really good teammate. And also keep practicing, because you never know when you're going to need to be able to get into the game, and you want to be ready. I know it's not fun being on the bench, but if you're a great teammate and you can bring really good snacks, that helps a lot. I spent a lot of time on the bench, so I know exactly what it's like. Now that you know what your baseball position says about you, you need to know what gear to have in your baseball bag.